From the outside, his life looked perfect. A quiet neighborhood, a stable job, a family that seemed happy. He was the kind of person people described with simple words. Polite, normal, reliable. No one thought he was capable of anything violent. Until one day, his family vanished without a trace, and the truth behind their disappearance revealed something far darker than anyone expected. Part 1. The Image of a Perfect Life. He wasn't famous, he wasn't rich, he didn't stand out. And that's exactly why people trusted him. He lived a routine life, work in the morning, home in the evening, weekends filled with normal things, groceries, errands, family time. The kind of life that looks safe, predictable. Neighbors would later say they rarely noticed anything unusual. No loud fights, no police visits, no obvious warning signs. But behind the calm surface, pressure was building. And in many true crime cases, the most dangerous moment is not when people start screaming, it's when everything goes quiet. Part 2. The cracks no one took seriously. Later, friends and acquaintances began remembering small details. Stress that seemed to increase over time. A relationship that felt distant. It wasn't the kind of drama that makes people step in. It was subtle. A colder tone during conversations. Less affection in public. A strange tension that didn't have a clear explanation. Financial pressure also became part of the story. Money problems don't automatically create violence, but they create fear. They create shame. They create a sense of losing control. And for some people, losing control is unbearable. Instead of asking for help, he kept everything inside. He still went to work, still smiled when someone greeted him, still acted like everything was fine. And that performance may have been the most convincing lie of all. Part 3. The day they disappeared. It started like any other day. But then something changed. Phone calls went unanswered. Messages were never read. Hours passed and no one came home. At first, people assumed there had to be a reasonable explanation. Maybe a phone battery died. Maybe plans changed. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. But as the day turned into night, concern turned into fear. A missing persons report was filed. When investigators arrived, the scene was confusing. The home didn't look like a crime scene. No broken windows, no forced entry, no signs of a violent struggle. The house looked normal. And sometimes that's what makes a case truly terrifying, because it suggests something happened quietly, something controlled, something planned. Part 4. Questions without answers. Police began doing what they always do in a missing persons case. They asked neighbors if they had seen anything unusual. They checked nearby cameras. They looked for recent sightings. But the neighborhood had almost nothing to offer. No one heard screaming, no one saw a struggle, no one reported suspicious strangers. And that lack of evidence forced investigators to focus on one uncomfortable possibility. If there was no forced entry, then whoever was responsible may have already been inside the home. Investigators interviewed the husband. In the beginning, he seemed calm, cooperative. He spoke in a controlled way, like someone telling a story he had practiced. But detectives are trained to notice the small things, not just what a person says, but what they avoid saying. Part 5. The inconsistencies. As interviews continued, the story began to shift. Timelines didn't match. Small details changed. Something as simple as when did you last see them became complicated. And when people are telling the truth, the basic facts usually stay the same. But when someone is hiding something, they start correcting themselves. They add unnecessary details, or they keep things vague. The husband continued insisting he had nothing to do with it. But investigators weren't relying on emotions or impressions. They relied on evidence. And in modern investigations, the evidence is often digital. Part 6. Digital evidence and a hidden timeline. Investigators examined phone records, location data, patterns of movement. They looked at what had been deleted, what had been searched, what had been hidden. Slowly, a second timeline began to form, one that didn't match the story he told. The digital trail suggested movement at times he never mentioned. It suggested decisions that weren't spontaneous, and it raised the most chilling possibility that this wasn't an accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding. This was something that had been set in motion long before anyone realized it. And once that reality became clear, investigators knew they were no longer searching for answers. They were closing in on a truth someone was desperate to keep buried. Part 7. The moment everything collapsed. When detectives confronted him with what they had found, his calm exterior began to crack. At first, he denied everything. Then he tried to explain, then he went quiet. Because the evidence wasn't based on rumors, it wasn't based on assumptions, it was based on facts. The kind of facts you can't talk your way out of. And in that moment, the image of the perfect family man started to collapse. Not with a scream, not with a dramatic confession, but with silence, and the slow realization that the truth was finally catching up. The community was left in shock. Neighbors replayed conversations in their minds, wondering if they had missed something obvious. People asked the same questions that always follow cases like this. How could this happen? Why didn't anyone see it coming? But the reality is, some people don't look dangerous. Some people don't act like monsters. They blend in. And by the time the mask falls, it's already too late. This case is a reminder of an uncomfortable truth. Evil does not always look frightening. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Sometimes it smiles and waves. And sometimes, the perfect life is the perfect lie. In the end, this case was never about a dramatic moment. It was about what people didn't see, what they didn't question, and how easily a carefully built image can hide something dangerous. There were no warning alarms, no obvious villains, just an ordinary life, slowly revealing an extraordinary lie. Cases like this remind us that true crime isn't always loud. It isn't always chaotic. Sometimes it unfolds quietly, behind closed doors, behind polite smiles, behind routines that look harmless. And when the truth finally comes out, it leaves more questions than answers. If this story made you think, pause, or see things differently, consider supporting the channel. Like the video if you found it compelling. Share it with someone who appreciates serious, respectful, true crime. And subscribe for more carefully researched stories like this one. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay observant. And remember, the most dangerous lies often look perfectly normal.